And behold, there come two woes more. I preach you a message about something that is happening right now while you're sitting in this auditorium. It's in CERN, Switzerland. Now, you may not be aware of what's going on over there, but there's a thing over there that's called a Large Hadron Collider, and it is an accelerator. It accelerates particles and then brings them to the point of collision. So this Large Hadron Collider was started up just a few days ago, and it's still in the initial process of being brought online completely. You say, what in the world does something like that have to do with me, the Bible? It has a lot to do with you and the Bible. I cannot and will not attempt to speak as a physicist. It would make me look like a fool. My purpose this morning is to try to be a liaison between them and you. Is to try to take what's going on in that collider and break it down to where I can understand it, and I can give it out so you can understand it, to where it makes an application to your life and to this world as we know it today. For what is happening in that collider is an astounding thing. So I want to think to you this morning from what's called a theoretical physicist. This man, his name is Stephen Hawking. He's well known throughout the world. Anyone that has anything to do with nuclear energy or has anything to do with physics knows this man. And he is one that some rate even on the level of Einstein and of that level. And so I want to read to you what this man has to say about what's happening right now in CERN, Switzerland. Listen carefully. These are the words of Stephen Hawking. He recently warned the reactivation in March of CERN's Large Hadron Collider could pose grave danger to our... The ultimate reality, check, we are warned. Hawking has come straight out and said the God particle, and this is what you've heard referred to time and again as the Higgs boson particle, the God particle found by CERN could destroy the universe. Now let that settle in. This man is an atheist, and he says there is no God. Yet he says that what's happening right now in CERN, Switzerland, and I'll give you what they're trying to do in a moment, what's happening this very minute in CERN, Switzerland, has the potential to destroy the universe. This is a theoretical physicist. Now, physicists come in all kinds of sizes. Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has also sounded the alarm in a hypothetical manner by telling anyone who might want to blow up a planet how to do so is this CERN's attempt to go by attempting to recreate the Big Bang within a man-made structure. This has frightened Stephen Hawking so much. Do they know that they know what they're doing? Ask yourself, how much energy is keeping it together? Neil deGrasse Tyson told co-host Eugene Merman on his Star Talk radio show, then you put more than that amount of energy into the object, it will explode. And I think I've got your attention. I've quoted two physicists. These are scientists. These men do not agree with what's happening in CERN, Switzerland right now. There is a 17-mile long accelerator that lies 300 feet beneath the surface of the ground. This area is where France and Switzerland come together. So part of this accelerator is located in France and part of it in Switzerland. It is a joint European project. The United States of America is there as an observer, but the brain power that's going in to this experimentation originates in Europe. They are attempting to recreate what they believe happened that brought all of this into existence as being the Big Bang. You and I know from Genesis chapter number 1 that in the beginning God created the heaven and the earth. He spoke it into existence. They are finding things, and this is what's important for us to understand today. They are discovering things that they did not discover as they get deeper and deeper into this experimentation and development and research and so forth, they are beginning to find out that there is a whole lot more to the creation than they had ever given thought to before. They're beginning to find out that there's something going on here that boggles the human mind, that literally blows us apart when we try to even comprehend what's happening. This 17-mile long underground tube that is located there in Switzerland has, I think, 4 or 5 different points where they collide with some protons and maybe something else, but particles that are being moved at or above the speed of light inside this collider. Now, for your information, there is one near us in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, but it is not nearly as large as what we're dealing with here. And apparently, the larger the collider, the more speed that they can attain, and the more they're able to get deeper into what they're looking for. They're looking for the very building blocks of what brought all of this together. To give you an analogy, let's say you have a house. You observe that house is beautiful. You think, my goodness, let's see how this is put together. You start taking the house apart and you expect to find nails, but instead you find glue. That fascinates you that much more because you find glue holding this house together. You wonder to yourself, what was this glue like before its hardened state? Because you see, once the glue glues the thing.
Don't worry, I'm doing a bloody floppy. Yeah, thought so. These demons come across the evidence of a lot of things and still keep me awake. And I don't want people to know. A video exposing the truth has been hacked and blocked by the demonic spirit out there. Cast you out in the name of the Lord of Jesus Christ and your Father. Keep me a bloody awake as well. The time's up because spiritually people are waking up to the, as I said, I knew a long time ago, 15th century. These fallen angels are nothing but demonic entities, and they are messing about with the God gene at 3 o'clock in the bloody morning. I'm still awake. And Educate Yourself.org is a bloody website, and Book of Enoch. You know, why do you think there's target individuals in this bloody world? Because they know in genealogy people are related to the Lord Jesus Christ in his bloodline. And if you don't bloody believe that, then God help you. It's up to you. It's your soul is in power. Your soul is so important. Why do you think they attack, you know, as much as possible in the physical life as well? And Brian Shoes has uploaded a video. Excellent information. Brian Shoes, they're all connected with the planet bodies hitting Earth, and that video, the block showing against the grain, YouTube channel, a man in Croatia. Wow. I must be doing something right. So, all that research, all this information, I know I'm under attack yet again. Demons, hello empowered. You can't sleep either. Yeah, they're attacking us, aren't they, eh? So, just playing Bonchu, his latest video. The bio on it is everything I've known for years. How are you? And, let me go into the chat, my chat. Let me go into the chat, my chat. I'm going to play it regardless. Okay, so it doesn't matter if I've got the Wi-Fi on, if I've got it off, because the radiation with the scalar waves has been rampant and my head is burning. So I titled this, right, and did you like the new layout on my app I've got? Hidden. See, they messed about my mind, so I can't even type now. Hidden. One's comet and the planet's the impact. That was not the title meant to be. The title was meant to be about CERN. You know, the God particles. CERN. Do you know about the technology in Switzerland, don't you? The CERN. And then I just found, I can't even spell his name right now because I'm off asleep, trying to sleep. Brian G. Okay, his new video. It's worth having a look. Okay. Yeah. Know about CERN. I must admit, I'm sleeping late due to pre-nights or Jews. Yes, I'm so sorry to hear about that. This is what we go through. Not been attacked yet tonight. It's still annoying. I'm still awake. Yeah, sleep deprivation. They do it to me. So I've got BS paperwork to do. Oh my god! Like, you know, or bits of food to get. They make sure I don't get no sleep till about dehydrated till about 4 o'clock in the morning. And then if I can't sleep, it won't this period of time of year, I would just get peed off by the perp neighbours, bang their doors, and they're trying to. The last video was a sick actually for I don't know, male or female, but from my point of view, my situation was seriously, I just couldn't get my head around it. Brian Chu uploaded some really interesting facts, how they're breaking into people's homes during sleep. Okay, mind control. And I've got audio evidence, right? I just can't get my head around it. I've got evidence of really sick demonic stuff that they do to me at night. And I can't repeat it on this whole platform because they'll only just use it against me. And they're very demonic. And so that's what I just said. It was the recent video Brian Cheese put up on his channel. It's the one before that, I think it is, or yesterday's date. And I don't drink alcohol, so just taking a night a natural herb tablet to help me try and sleep at least a few hours. But it doesn't matter if I have the internet on. I'm getting a constant what you call it in my ears. There it's intensified, you know, in the ears, the scalar waves, microwaves, you know, all that BS, and the stomach is like a balloon. They blow me up with the radiation, despite me eating healthy, you know. I have to constantly detox with special bottled water tea, you know, herbal teas and stuff. It's an effort. So I haven't been able to throughout the day to do what I want to do because my head has been really burning like mad. Anyway, point being is, now I will try and play that video. All you can hear is the audio because I can't hold the phone. Now, if I fall asleep, God forbid, you'll hear like Mo used to come in the chat, Mo Smith, but nobody really gets notified because I make sure that, you know, no matter what platform I use on the internet. So I just got to watch my mobile data because I'm streaming off a phone with the internet connection. But there's no point getting these apps knowing what they're doing to me, like so many people who are able to, like, they beam more technology on us, don't they? And much more. So, point being is, subject was meant to be about CERN, guard particles, genetically altering human DNA, getting rid of any sort of spirituality in the human. Okay. And when I connected the dots, I don't know, about a week ago, a couple of days ago, can't remember now, with the you know what offer, a lot of these people on that app I said about, they are a lot of people in the groups. They have no, they're not really. Some are talking about, there's one guy called Bill. He's in America. Exchange details on the Telegram app, and he's put information about a particular natural organic powder. Well, I checked my supplies I've got, and I'm already taking that with all these minerals and vitamins in it, in my juices and drinks, you know. And that's meant to help the cells of the body from all this radiation, absorbs the radiation. And the detoxing things that I do is an effort. And what he was saying about Pacific make, which is similar ingredients to what I got, which is about, I don't know, I was going to try and get one for about 10 quid. Yeah, when you're TI, you know before you buy things in these stores and you're monitoring, they know what you're going to get before you get it. And so they might just tamper with things. But anyway, back in my head at the moment. Okay, so I had my phone as I was trying to stream. Let me just double check. This is the phone. This is the one I was trying to do it on. I know God gives gifts to individuals, but I don't believe some have access from birth and others don't. That doesn't fit with my understanding, yeah. You see, the organised religion, I'm not sure about the God particle thing. I've always understood everyone can access God if they choose. Well, this is it, and this is what I was going to play. A video of Brian Chu, because of the bio, the write-up he put underneath it. And he's a Christian himself, and as you know, may or may not know, target individual. He was interviewed by somebody I know in America, and the interview was very spot on. She is, if you don't know about super soldiers, right, and children the cabal for centuries, how these demonic falling demons have used, how can I put it, used others, others to be their slaves and keep them in underground bases. Some of them are military bases, and some are used as breeders to have kids, and the kids are, certain things happen to them. I can't be graphic about it, not on this platform at all, because it will just, it would just sound far-fetched. But I know a lot of certain things firsthand that goes on. So this is why I have to be careful what I say and how and that's why I stream that video, link with a website. It's not mine, it's just a website to go into. Go and check out a guy called Bill Cooper. Listen to some of his, he's got the archives are still up online. And once you start listening to the Pale, I would suggest, I think it's called the Pale Horse. Well, it's got loads of articles on the audio, radio as well, from a long time ago. He started in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and they killed him off because he was independently, before the Internet of Things, exposing what's already getting out now. Okay, much deeper, much dark, a lot of dark things. And he was ex-American, army. And he witnessed things in the military, in the army, when he was in. And he had a wife and a young kid, and they gunned him down outside his house. So my journey of awakening began, well, a long time ago, but before I knew about the Targeted program. And then, of course, the rest is history to date. So any research, any queries, not just about this subject, gaslighting, targeted, but the very important basics of history, that's never going to be, truth is going to get out there, get shut down, doesn't it? So, anyway, just, in my opinion, have an open mind about this video. I'm going to audio play in the background, okay? Hopefully it might send you to sleep, and it might send me to sleep, who knows? But it's a risk I'm prepared to take, because it's important to play. If I get hacked, because I always get hacked online, so I don't know how Wayne plays his video games. It's really, really relaxing when I'm able to listen in or watch when he plays his videos on his streams, on his TV. And those games, absolutely, looks really quite well designed. It's a bit like the other day I thought it was like watching a mini movie, but the video game that he was playing. But he's right in a lot of things, in a way, where never give up, is it? When these, on the practical sense, they want us to give up and give in, to this program. And this is the ultimate, and they expect me with their BS lies, big and recent, lead to me to just crumble up and give in. I never give in, because it's not just about target individuals gaslighting. This is bigger, much more in a spiritual sense, because when they trace the DNA genetically as well, and all links back to when a baby, and they test the baby, perhaps, and the parents might not know that they might have an implant being put into them by a just simple blood test, a prick of the foot or whatever. Who knows? But underlying it all, it's not just ordinary people doing this. They're serving an underlying race, well, many different races of the reptilians, snakes I call them, and reptilians, And most Memphis got a really good playlist on this channel, and a lot of the videos are not just these people have took time to make these videos to try and warn people what we're dealing with. So these puppets on the string, these puppet servants worldwide, sell out. They're just puppets. When you know the pyramid structure of the skull and bones, and higher than that, Illuminati gets higher than that. It's not just Freemasons. It gets much higher, hierarchy. And when you eventually find and research some information, it's really up to the individual to judge for themselves what they feel about it, and they dismiss it or whatever. But when you have a religious upbringing like I, and you find a lot of things out, and eventually the dots are connected, then we're not dealing with the flesh and blood at all anymore. Okay, and we'll each have a soul. So whether one takes a journey and is able to keep remembering that our souls were temporary on this physical earth, which is very demonic. It's not made for us. This physical plane known as earth is not made for us, and we're going to be the ones, in the sense of this planet's going to be rid, like it did in the book of Noah, Noah's time, when the earth was cleansed, the great floods. And when I was streaming and showing that last video of Argar against the grain, 11 PM or something last night now, he witnesses what I do. These are low level comets, covered up by the dark skies. I usually see them if I get woken up early, if I get any sleep, on live weather cameras. Then I also sometimes see them at sunset. And this is on live weather cams in Scotland. Well, he's got mathematical type computerized software where he broke it all down. There's about 5 or 6 of them he saw. And that was taken off yesterday's date. So these frequencies, the pressure on the earth and the sun's gonna, allegedly, I'm gonna put here now, what I'm about to say now, I'm gonna put a ledge for my protection. So they've had my phone already. Oh dear. You're not really down reptilians either. I believe it's demonic. It is. The reptilians, if you look at the makeup of the reptilian race, it's not about aliens, because that is misconstrued sometimes. when you research, as I said before, there's a lot of digging to be done, and one of the websites I always say about. Now, with the reptilians, it's different mixing of the bloodline of bloods of human of fallen angels are beautiful when they fell, mixing with the human DNA and creating offsprings and altering the human DNA. So they have reptilian bloodline, DNA blood within them, and the shape-shifting abilities. So when I say reptilian, it's interlinked with that, okay? It's nothing to do with aliens per se. I don't go for that. And I too, like you, definitely 100% go along with the demonic ring, okay? So before the reptilian, the DNA effect of the changes, it goes back in biblical years, as I've quoted when I did set up this stream, and the year was 1500s. Can even go back further, but on Brian Chew's channel, when I saw the date, I knew exactly what he's hinting at. And it goes back even further, because the teachings I was raised in was looking at the Lamanites, Israelites, and the ancient civilizations. And my history, my teachings in the religious point of view was on that side. And when I finished my studies, and I was only a young girl at the time, I had all my certificates and things. Well, I wouldn't know. All these years later, I would revisit this subject and find a lot more out, and things I was taught wasn't quite 100% accurate. It's more detailed, and hence I mention about it. So the organised religion I was raised in, each to their own. I know it's not a true Christian nature. It's very deep rooted into Freemasonry, and the founder was in the late 1800s was Freemason. So the rituals I did in the temples was of that within the cabal links and connections was very much to do with Freemasonry. I didn't know. So as soon as I realised, and I had this as a young woman, something wasn't quite right. I wanted to leave home, get out and go to work, and and get a place with my best mate and live life, and that's what I did. So, but sadly, when my mum moved and went to a job in Canada, and she sold the house down south, and ended up nowhere else to live because my best mate, she found a fella she wanted to marry, so I had no one else to find to share a place with. And I had a bloody good job, by the way, where I used to live. So I met somebody, and had a child by him, and but he didn't want to marry me. So I was a shame on the family. That's what they implied, and I was treated like hell when I moved up here as a young age, and it's been like that all throughout my whole life, really. By the family side, I know that what's all linked to it now. Didn't realise at the time. So over the years, I've met all sorts of people, all well connected, and very shallow, not very spiritual. I wasn't at all very spiritual years ago either. I was a very rebellious individual. Didn't really, in the world they call it. But I've had the opportunity to mix and mingle with a lot of people, well connected in a lot of areas, seen a lot of things that nobody should ever see, not when they've got a true heart about them. So luckily I protected my kids, they're older adults now, and here I am now. Never ever ever knew how or why I've been in this program. I am anyone else. It's just that I think all this is generational. It is deep rooted. It is not something that you just suddenly get put into on a list. That is part of it, but it's also connected to DNA and genetics. And as my late mum was very religious, when she joined this organised religion, she had no idea when she was joining, because of the trauma that she went through as a child in those war years and things. So she was very loyal. She didn't question nothing. And cut a long story short, my ex-brother, ex-military brother, and my other brother is a half brother. They both worked together to make sure my life was going to be in misery. Their connections, if you know what I mean, and his connections in the military. So I'm still here, gonna survive. So I'm gonna play behind your channel. Okay. Thanks, empowered. What type of church was it? How did you know there was Freemason in it causing the problems? If you go and research Joseph Fielding Smith, how there's a part of the Book of Mormon that's left out the origins, how they travelled from one place. Everything I was taught in my education and in the church in Utah, and how they build up the foundations. It's all about paying you 10% of your tithe, but that 10% of your earnings is always for so long now, for a long, long time. It's been building up, and financially, these people, when Joseph Smith was, there's the history is, what's that lady called? I researched, found Tanner, something Tanner. Can't remember her first name. An American lady. I found in the late 90s, 80s, and more so in like 2012. Ex-Mormons, people that's left and are spiritual but just wanted some answers, you know. So I joined a few forums and over the years, and I found a lot of things out. And then I came across this lady's books and pamphlets, websites, and I did the research. I got a background in PR research anyway, and I found I found her website and started research independently, and this is where the genealogy comes in. It's not just through like innocent, like looking at your family history. It found out it's more sinister than that, and that's in the big picture, not just within the members. They branched out independently. I mean, don't get me wrong, they had a good program for kids, that young kids, families, programs, you know. But when you get involved in the temple side, endowments, and the rituals they do, and as teenagers, the baptisms and things with the dead, and then the aprons and all the outfits are very much Joseph Smith piggybacked off. He tried to shake off that he and his family were Freemasons, although centuries ago, well, 100 years ago, I suppose, and they were being persecuted at the time. It's like the Baptist, all different types of religions in that period of time. And he was imprisoned. There's a lot of history with Joseph Fielding Smith, and then what the Mormons are proud of is like, oh, I'm connected to him through my family bloodline. What they seem to do, I mean, all those years ago when I was younger, growing up, was marrying the women off. It's like matchmaking, the old-fashioned way of matchmaking. But they have to know the family first, you know, and if they have kids. So this is what it's been like in my family. And when my two sisters married, it was arranged. It was cleverly matched up with the men they met. It was church dances. My family knew their potential partner's family, you know. So it's like they knew the grandparents when they got married, had kids, and it's been like that ever since with my nephews and nieces. So I didn't raise my kids that way. I left it up to them to make their own mind up what they want to do when they got old enough, and have the live life out of that controlled, don't think for yourself kind of attitude, and did the best one can, you know. So yeah. So unfortunately, as a period, I was a young woman when I had 8 men in the room, and they were just like tearing me down to shred, big time, psychologically worthy. My mother sat outside of the room and in this chapel, and they always said, "Oh, you put the shame on the family. Oh, you want to leave the church, and you know, and we've done everything for you," and all this psychological. It was total psychological gaslighting. I didn't know what it's called then, but they did that in a way to isolate me. I know that now, but at the time it was like deliberately trying to put doubt in my relationship with my mother, which worked because for years I hated her. And I made my peace with her when she passed, just before she passed, thank goodness. They always made sure my own natural brothers and sisters always excluded me from everything, and even my own children, so I made a life of my own. So I thought, they want to do that, I raised the puppet and I moved on. And it makes you stronger. It's not easy, but you get there. So all these years later, things happen physically, and then you realise what really matters. So anyway, on that note, I'll play this video in the background. Yes, absolutely. The same in your family, is it? I was forced to join an eventual, can't pronounce the word, sorry, cult by manipulation. So sorry to hear that. Yeah, it was the Mormons, yeah. Can't press a button. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And this is what they do, isn't it? But I don't know, when we're finding our feet away from it and being dependent ourselves and finding what matters with ourselves. Because when you go through all this, you can easily turn to drink and drugs. You can mix with the wrong crowd. You can get into all sorts of problems. I mean, I'll tell you, I've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, but one thing I never did was, it's just because the upbringing. I didn't do no drinks, no drugs, nothing like that. And my first pub I went to was my ex so-called brother. We were very close at the time. It's a shame how things turn out. but all were very close till that event happened. Sadly, when I moved up here, I've stayed with my older brother, half brother, and I witnessed things what he did to his kids, serious stuff. And I shared a room with my 4-year-old niece at the time. I was only a young woman, and just had my baby. At the time, I was quite young, not that young, but youngish. And since I had my daughter, and on Christmas Eve baby she is, so it's always hard. Every Christmas is always hard for me. I don't celebrate the pagan holidays at all. I know now it's just pagan, and it goes back to biblical years and rituals and things. So I don't participate myself. This is what I soon realised, and I feel better for it. But it's always a pressure like New Year's Eve to get drunk and merry. For what? Especially now the times we're living in. It's what's matter is the spirit, it's the soul. And it's not that easy when you've got life pressures on top. So it is finding what is right for oneself without influence. So the manipulation is always happening. All the tactics is happening. You know what they do. It's the psychological tactics is what they like to do as well. The triggers, especially when you go through trauma, MK Ultra, the trigger is the one that they're doing on me most recently. And bugger that, I ain't going out 2 bloody days just recently doing paperwork again. So they're trying to label me again. You know, it's bad enough having the physical reduction of health, physical, you know, abilities, rather than, you know, it's like when you go on the streets, be careful out there. I've got to know, unfortunately, people on the surface mean well. When you're looking for other people that are similar, like-minded, and on this platform, and with the AI, anyone can post as anyone. Anyone could post anything. And it's really up to the individual to research independently if they want to. Because when you try and speak out and share some facts, and if you go across the line and powers that be don't like it, then they're going to try and set you up big time. You go, right? So that happened to a lady in Bournemouth. I was on a Zoom meeting Sunday night, wasn't there long because I was tired. Found out she wanted to set up, and she had good intentions, a helpline for UK, a charity for target individuals. And the trouble is, there's so many of us worldwide now, and especially in England, it used to be websites I know about. They didn't last long. Shane up north, he did well for a while. He's went through a lot of hell, and his brother, his experience in Kent. I learned a lot from his videos. They had a website. The website isn't active. The forum isn't active. It's just people are going through this technology on top. But the tips I picked up from him was very helpful. There's a couple of things I need to invest in to stop them breaking in my bloody flat when I'm asleep. But I find out buying choose video is not physically how they're doing that. I have to rewatch that video to comprehend the bio you put at the end of the video, because of advancement of the technology, you know, and the ultimate of us target individuals, right? Using our brains, neurosciences, you know, to create the ultimate to create the control of the consciousness, subconsciousness of the brain interface, upload to the supercomputer, transhumanism, to get rid of the human body, turn it into a robotic by certain means I can't make public that I'm aware of, and how they're doing it that I found out about, and they got me straight on the other channel when I found out, and I link up the dots. So I had to be very careful. I'm no expert, I've just learned these things and research. So I have been trying to warn my son, for the sake of his young daughter, not to be so heavily much reliant on digital currency, crypto and all that stuff. He's pushing the Neuralink because he thinks, you know, this future is going that way. He's smart, he's aware of stuff, but I don't think he knows how much the brain, how much they're hacking into him. Because he said to me one time, I don't know where I suddenly got all this intelligence from. Ever since a child, he's always been very, very bright, very smart. And there's a lot of history I can't make public here, but I had to fight, not physically, I had to take on these public servants, make sure they had the right education, make sure they got self-defense, my daughter as well, paid my way, make sure they had the classes, that protection streetwise, you know, knowing the right from wrong, the basics you can do, but making sure they're switched on, because anything happened to me, they had to know, you know. And it wasn't always pleasant. I've had scenarios and situation that hasn't been pleasant. I married a Mason. I know how they are. Well, I can't always guarantee what they all are. I can only give my experience with a few people I've met, my husband's ex. And he was a master Mason. I didn't know until afterwards. And I found out some really sick stuff. There was no way I was going to have in my life after that, or near my kids. So after the holiday and get married to him, that was it. Got rid of him, but he stalked me for years. And my life wasn't very pleasant. So I had to do everything I could. My old house kept getting broken into. Let me just check and be careful what I'm doing and what I'm saying. Dan EMP, I'm sorry to hear that story. Peace and strength sent your way. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, I had built a good friendship cycle for the first time in my life, and they shattered it. Yeah, I'm buried. Sorry to hear that. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate the strength sending all received. Yep. Yeah, it's a tough one. And the thing is about when you find out not just this subject, but if we're talking about history is being manipulated in such ways that empowered individuals, when you have that sense about you and you do the research, you find out the world is not what you think it is, and it's a perception and a manipulation, and it's been around for centuries. And it's like a can of worms you open up, and you just thought you can't put the lid back on because it's going down rabbit holes, and you find information Wow. When they talk about in the world, there's a few bloodline families that control the monetary system. Excuse me. I was radiating my ears right now. When you work out and find out who you really are and the power we do have, all of us have, each one of us on this earth have, away from the cabal and their families and the bloodlines. They will come after you. They will make your life hell. Never give up, never give in to these demonic fallen angels. Because the sweat equity comes from one's energy into what you produce. So whether it's a job or if you're skilled in labouring or whatever subject you are or had, the monetary system is always being manipulated by the banking families. And in London, for example, the Crown, separate city in London, and it's a Crown Corporation, City Bar of London. It's not a city of London, it's a separate financial district. And where business wants to take place. And it was always seems to be England, bourgeois England really, that seems to start wars, the banking. There's always banking wars, maritime law. And how they're always conquering, like Columbus, all these, conquests and how they conquered America and the true origins, what really happened, and the savage, killing the beautiful native Indians. And then look what the slave trade did, and then you go further forward, what they did in the boats to go around to Africa and stealing human bodies for slave trade, and it's like, what, all those centuries ago. And when you do that history and you do that research and you connect these dots and you just realize, right, I know who I am. I'm not a piece of paper. I'm not the birth certificate name. I'm a flesh and blood man or woman. I, the man, or I, the woman. Nobody has authority over me. Who says that a statute or an act, has the assumption that one needs to follow? Where's the contract? But when the child is born, until the age of 7, in the age of maturity, in the eyes of England, for example, when that child, a bundle of joy, is born to the parents, well, the parents didn't know when they signed a piece of paper, when they were in the middle of celebrating the birth of that child, that they were giving away the property rights to the state to create a certificate. It's called a birth certificate. But they see, when you correct the status as a live life claim, that one is of the maturity, one has taken over the estate control as the beneficiary and rightly owner of the estate trade name, known whether it's the Mr., Miss, Mrs., the title, and whether it's without the title, it's uppercase or even lowercase. It's all to do with trust and equity. So when I worked all that out, and didn't they not like it? So they had to question and judge and make assumptions about my private life and stop repairing my home. And they had to use their influences and contacts in the Freemasonry connections. A certain one is right opposite me. It's very demonic. We're not going to go into specifics, but there's a lot of things I know about him before I moved here. So they started moving perpetrators in where I live. And they had to make sure that everything around is my fault. And everything I've been doing ever since I stumbled up and counterclaimed and tried to sue for the individual represented as agents for their corporations, public funded companies or private. So everything one does on before what we know now, of course, but everything before I knew 2018, I was doing counterclaims, affidavits, and trained up in law. So of course I couldn't walk, so what could I do? Train myself and educate myself. And that's when Nargate began even digging further. So when I found out in my area these key individuals, and since I got an over course and reduction in physical health, I was dealing with the same people I've dealt with all my life, really. I found out a certain individual, she's always had to be in a bonnet for me since I won my case in the public service to help my son's education. I've fallen in their backside, you could say, and I didn't know this. Okay. So when I had knee problems, I was always fit and healthy years ago, and I had some money. I needed a small bit of help in my old house, and I started getting all the abuse and gaslighting, didn't I? I didn't know it that. I didn't know it was called that at the time. So it all began. I won't go into all the specifics, but you can just imagine it's been a ride, a journey, a personal journey. It's like I could write a book that makes you laugh and make you cry. But going to the point of the birth certificate, really, it's important. And when it's a lot of people in humanity knows the truth about all this. And that's where the power lies. The empowerment of the individual, regaining the ownership and the control back over the trust. And in 1066, you see, when there's a Great Fire of London all those years ago, people were declared lost at sea, and that's where they come up with the idea, these bankers, to create the birth certificate. And so you see, it was a commodity, so the public was seen as a commodity for the secretary and the Labour to to be the surety to answer for taxes and bills and all the statutes in England for that trust name. But you see, people didn't realise, and all these years on, people just assume that they're just a Mr. or Miss and Mrs. And if you didn't realise, if you get married, you're entering a contract. So when you enter a contract within the state system, yes, you might get married in a church or wherever, but it was in a church setting, and you have a registrar. You're registering the intention of the creation of the contract with the state they have, and when the relationship doesn't work out, you're going into their system to get their permission to get the divorce, called the maritime system, i.e. within the court system. The courts are built like ships. Not in the physical sense, of course, but when you go into the dock, all the terms and the words and the use is all related to maritime law. That's why I say go on this website streaming, and it goes into, just look at the section called the straw man. It's not to do with even that subject. It's to do with knowledge, knowing who you are. So once you have that knowledge and education, and anything in the post comes, your post box is seen as a venue of contract in business, okay, commerce and business, and one has 3 days in receipt of the offer that comes through the letterbox, and of course in Christmas bank holiday, then it's usually the 2-day after period. To condition accept the offer, or you can do anything with it. But if you take the letter, whatever offer it is, and usually the terms and condition in that, it's not a full disclosure. And if you rebuttal that you're not that title, you're the agent, representative, and the beneficiary of that trust created at live birth. And it's a certain terminology and words that you put, and how you do your autograph, and how you do your documents, is that when you find all that out, and you learn that, this is where you get even more harassment on top of a magnitude I can't describe. And that's what they're doing to me again. Because they have to shut out the messenger, don't they? You know, they have to get rid of the messenger. I'm just many. All those wonderful people before me, Veronica Chapman, English lady, male, female, gender, and wonderful, all this information all these years. Veronica Chapman might be able to search a name and find the old archives online still, and just start watching some videos if you want to learn more on that subject. Because when you get peace officers coming up to your private dwelling, I say never answer the door, never answer to them. Unless you cause a common law offence, you've injured somebody, another human individual, and you cause loss or harm to them, that's a common law offence. Otherwise, it's all contracts. So when there's assumption you've lost the job, okay, you got injured, you can't work, and what's going on in the world now, especially for foreclosures, etc., there's the assumption that you're still liable for the liabilities of, the terminology how to do is separate values and offset the assumption that you need to pay. How can you pay a bill with another debt instrument? Because what is the money made of? Paper currency. It's like is in the word currency. It's not backed up with value. It's paper currency. It's like in America when they got rid of the gold, the green standards back, and when they had that Great Depression, the banking collapse. Who made all that? The interest on that, and all the misery of the people handing the gold. Why do you think they were required to hand in the solid assets of gold and silver? Because they knew they're going to create debt currency, making the people a surety, trust and equity law. And that's been like that ever since, and that's a worldwide system. But that is all coming to a close. And they want to create the demonic system, they want to create the ultimate control for the Bitcoin. One world currency, one world order. It's all to do with maritime commerce and business. But they have to also portray a medical terminology to this as well. And then, of course, you've got the element with the weather. There's a lot more going on above our skies than they're letting on as well. But you see, this is all being predestined before I was born anyway. And biblical areas, isn't it? You see, when you look at the history of the bartering system, the monetary system, people exchanged goods and services, what they made themselves. They had no inhibition by the system, by the state, by the barons, by the lords, ladies, and gents of the manor all those centuries ago, especially in England. They grew their own food. They grew hemp, strong, multiple purposes with a natural hemp plant. And when do the pharmaceutical companies get involved? How do they spring up an hour? You know, and when you do the research of pharmaceutical industry, then you do the research of psychological, the psychiatry industry, and yeah, as many rabbit holes you find out, and you come up with a lot of conclusions. You see, the mind cannot go back to sleep when you find this evidence out, and when you learn how to put your evidence into fruition and counterclaim back and regain your own power as an individual living man or woman. And a lot of people have, but they have to do it in such a way carefully to the target individual, right? They make it even harder to do these processes. And what I tend to do is mention this particular certain subjects in my documents, my counterclaims. Yeah, but they still make it even. They have to try another angle. It's like again, these demonic Freemasons love their sick demonic games. And yeah, so it's a lot, and there's a lot of good people out there. God rest their souls, has passed away because they spent a lifetime trying to get this information out, and they've had cancer, or they've died of ill health, or something's happened to them, and they've passed away. But the legacy lives on, and here we are now. The quench of humanity is awakening up. So I've had a lot there. Let's be completely overthrown. You don't think what I'm talking about, but educateyourself.org there's a lot of resources up there. Yeah, the education media empowered, yeah. Normalise abuse on the poor, exactly. Yes, unfortunately, the correct, Jeff. There has been a deliberate attack on a family by the state and for women's lib funding movements who's the mother of yeah, definitely that TV program, Empowered. I never understood how minerals from ground gain any value. Makes no sense to me, Jeff says, yeah. I have to dig further and find these things out. Yeah, I've got to get some sleep now. I am going to head off and try to sleep. Bye for now. Take care. Blessings to you. And Jeff, you say, that being said, I did buy 16 ounces of silver today. Well done, you. Hedging my bets for when the horrible paper fiat currency is worthless. This is it. And also, the biggest investment you can do is your water, off-grid items, survival, military style survival items that I was able to get. I won't say what, won't let the powers be that know. And that's like your water filters. So when the grid goes down, what's important is get your alcohol. I don't drink it, but if you got brandy, I've learnt this from my first aid skills years ago. You got certain alcohol because it can be used as an anaesthetic. I'm not giving medical advice, by the way, but all these little other things you can do. Getting your storage. My late mum was always this way. She taught us to have storage, basic things, first aid, food, wind up radios, wind up clocks, things that you don't need batteries, you don't need electricity for. And it's all about, the pole shift scenario, just in case scenario. And I've always been like that every winter anyway, really, just be prepared. Push button nights are battery operated, stuck at the wall, just in case there's no mainstream electric. You see, there's always ways. And then all these people that's had years and years and years of knowledge of all these things, they've lived off grid, preppers, things like that, and they've had skill fishing and hunting and yeah, it's brilliant. Mini farms, grow their own veg, and there's a lot of things you can do if you live in apartments and flats. But the ultimate now, isn't it, is smart grid, smart everything, which is the radiation and the 5G, etc. And this is where it's so important. So yeah, if you've got, which I've noticed a lot of the traders suggesting, you know, like somebody suggested to me to break it down, because don't forget we've got nickel dimes, you know, for example, silver content, although it's sterling silver in England currency, 50p's, 5p's, smaller denomination, you've got more to barter with. So when they're not, the say cash machine goes down, you still can access a shop to buy anything if you don't take a certain offer. You know what I mean? You can exchange with small change, because say if the paper currency become worthless overnight and then system collapses, you've got change. Keep it out the bank as much as possible. Only keep a minimal amount in the banks. At the moment, there's excellent lot of traders. One American guy that I found was doing that already. I knew that from the 70s to do that. It's just the way my late mum was raised for her mum in the war years, and it's just brought down in the family bloodline, in the female line, and always have a storage, a mini pantry. And the religion I was raised in, it was always that way. Be self-sufficient best you can. I mean, they're well organised. They've got warehouses all over the place. They've got plenty of food and pantries, and they're always on the scene, working with FEMA and the disaster strikes. They mean well, but it's religious, deep religious part of the occult, which they've got connections with. But yeah, doing that is a very good idea. Oh, hiya, Tanya. Did she pop in? Didn't see her. I can't see your comments if you're in, Tanya. Let me check on my phone, by the way. Let me just have a look. I'll get it back before I sleep or something later. No, she's not in. If she's in, I won't be seeing her. Jeff, you posted. You said hello to Tanya. She's not here. There's 4 people watching. And Power's got off. You're in the chat. But there's always some entities watching. So if you're watching, Tanya. Oh, wow. That's lovely. You were raised on a farm, hunting and fishing and trapping. Yes, there's very good skills. Need more medicine and literature on natural remedies. Yeah, I trained years and years and years ago in Cornwall. I was raised by the coast and the countryside, and I was raised to learn about plants, herbs, natural herbs, dandelions, and that's the first thing I was learnt about. Nettles, nettle tea, peppermint tea. So although I don't live by the countryside anymore for a long time, and the situation I'm in, I've learnt. I studied years ago in London, travelling quite often, over many moons ago now, trained in natural health. So I trained my carer friends in healing, the Native American healing techniques and herbs. And I've got loads of books. I used to collect a lot of dried herbs and store them, and don't do that as much anymore since 2010. but yeah, I'm a bit rusty on the properties. So what I tend to do now, I mean, hemp you can get in these are beautiful tea bags. It's expensive, but I can get them in my area. Hemp oil is pointless buying because it's in England. You can only get the highest you can buy lawfully is about 2% of the hemp oil, and it doesn't really do much. You're better off getting natural turmeric powder for your veins of the body, mixing it with barrier oil, natural organic coconut oil, mixing it with ground pepper. Have a really good jar. As I said, mix it in a paste. You've got a natural antibacterial toothpaste. With the turmeric is it reduces the swelling in the mouth. The coconut oil sort of helps take out any potential bacteria in the mouth. I add a few drops of peppermint oil with it just to give it a bit of taste. Oil pulling is very hard to do, but it's not pleasant, but it's really good for you of the mouth. Organic toothpaste, but when the shops will stop selling this stuff, I stocking up on the organic jars of coconut oil. And if you are able, when you're living on farms and things like that, to make your own. A lot of people can make their own herbs and canning and things, you call it in America. But over here, there's a couple of post shops actually already do pickled vegetables, pickles and things like that, which they do pickled garlic. And I notice when I can't get fresh garlic, using a couple of garlic cloves when the radiation affects my teeth, I can put a clove of garlic on the area. It's not pleasant. It really isn't pleasant, but it helps reduces the swelling. But also, I learned years ago, I mean, this is centuries old, is lavender. It's not great if you don't like the smell, but it's great healing. Crushing down the lavender leaves. Again, barrier oil, coconut oil, perhaps. And just perhaps you might want to add a bit of peppermint barrier carrot oil with it, and you're making your own natural healing. It depending on the skin type. You just put it just underneath your chin. That helps soothe and keeps you calm. Perhaps on your pillow. Perhaps if you've bruised your arm or something, and you just put a dab on that, and within 2 or 3 days it's gone. My experience firsthand. If you're using tea tree oil, if you don't know how to make that, then I suggest get some of that in, because if you're using cotton buds or paper, cotton wool, and you put some around your nails and you've got problem with your hard nails, it really over time settles it down and the nails down, and it really does, especially winter time, you're wearing socks and things, and your nerve endings on your hands, the pressure points at certain points in your fingers and your hands and your feet, and it's nothing but if you can get a foot massage, foot massage is a pressure point on the outer side of your feet, and inside on the edge of your feet, both sides. And when somebody does the palms at the top of the feet, the base of the feet, say like it's your palm of a hand, but similar to your feet, and then you're just putting out the toes, and you'll feel the whole spine, then from the neck down to your back, the whole spine totally relaxed. I mean, you've got some beautiful relaxation music on, whatever you enjoy listening to at the same time, and safely if you've got candles nearby. It's such the essence and that ambience is such a way to relax the spirit and the soul. And in those days, the old days, Indians always, I still got the tapes actually. The pipe music, Indian spiritual pipe music. And there's something about Aboriginal culture that I've always been interested in. And I've got loads of beautiful sculptures and pictures of native Indians. And yeah, so my family bloodline having the skills of learning from foraging and things like that. And then putting my skills, what I learned as a kid growing up, and then training professionally instead of a business. And then sadly, I didn't take it off the business. So I just become unwell. So I just trained up my friends to do the skills I've learned. And then you go into the head and you can do it yourself, 2 pressure points, to a middle finger and your index finger. And if you get any tension around the back or even at the front of your temples, and you just circulate it, and you just turn all your electrics off in the dark room best you can, and you're just circulating movements, and then just around the back of the head, around the back of the ears, especially what I'm going through, and then you just literally massaging around pressure points of the cortex around the back and down to the back of the tip of your bone, top of the head. You come slowly back round the head on the top. The fingertips is a bit like if you go for a haircut in the hairdressers or something, and the female would do a lovely head massage. It's a bit like that, but the way I was taught with the temple and the third eye, just above your nose, within your eyes, and how to do it. It's all about the nerves, and so I was trained in all that. But that is so important to know how to do it yourself. You're listening. Okay. Thank you. So I need. Oops. What's happening with my phone? Okay. Is Tanya making comments? I can't see her comments. If they might be messing about my chat, because normally I will see Tanya. Let's go back a bit. I wish I had paid my grandparents' root meds more attention. Yeah. It's like my late mum, she taught me, and I didn't really remember a lot of stuff till a few years later. But sadly, you'd soon pick it up. What about Judy's man? She's a hero. Dr. Judy, I don't know. Who's Dr. Judy? I'm listening, Awaken, thank you. So I knew some doesn't grow here, but I'm taking notes. Oh, don't get me going on feet. Oh, bless you, what's happened? No. Oh, yeah. I'm trained in massage a little bit. Oh, that's good. Well, that's very good. Yeah. I will check it shortly, Tanya. Need to gain strength first. Peace and strength, Tanya. I don't see in the chat. Let me just go into my main chat. Yeah, Jeff. I don't see her at all. Let me come out of it and come back in. No, I don't know why you're mentioning Tanya, because she's not in the chat talking to me.
No, I don't know why you're mentioning.
Jeff, you're saying bridge of nose, ears and thumbs are good for headaches. Yeah, exactly. Definitely. So what I'm about to do is play about Sun. Yeah, I don't know where Tanya was because she normally would come in and she sees me live. But Brian Chew's YouTube channel. There's a lot of history to know. Right, let me see if she's in there.
You know, and it kind of adds a sense of urgency because, you know, here I am, 70 years old, and all I want to do is.
That's another individual in talking. Hold on, bear with me. Time zone difference, right, here we go. Brian Chew.
And so you start taking.
Right, time travel is no longer a fragment of information when one can travel at the speed of thought. In time travel possible? This is a subject going on to now. Yes, and humans do it every day, even right now. Hurling into the future at an impulsive rate of 1 second per second. That's actually time travel. Famed physicist Albert Einstein's theory of special relativity mathematically proves that an observer travelling near the speed of light will experience time with all after effects, boredom, aging, etc. much more slowly than an observer at a position of rest. But CERN is about much more than the string theory. Dark matter has created the end time possibility of Armageddon that the Book of Revelation describes in vivid detail. Artificial superintelligence can create a vivid weaponry with power over dark matter, which grants the user a wide variety of dark matter-based abilities, including generation, transmission, and the creation of conducts, along with volatile abilities involving normal universal matter or antimatter. Artificial super intelligence has now developed to a point that humans can no longer control it. All that mankind can do is to hit the on-off switch and shut it down when it becomes to overpower humans. What happens when the artificial superintelligence programs attack, overpower, and kill those responsible for shutting it down? Some scientists are seeking to use the God particle, Hinsburn, to recreate the surface of the planet Earth as governments retreat into their deep underground military bases. On educateyourself.org there is details about the history of that. DUMBS. Resulting in certain death for the rest of humanity caught on Earth service. The laws of time and space shall be granted unto man. These are the words of Lord Jesus Christ to Richard Singh Mudd in one of the most celebrated near-death experiences in history, and there's a link to the channel. I'll play that in a moment. The reason you see a statue of Hindu god, and it's pronounced Sandavia, at the CERN laboratory is because Siberia is the god of destruction and recreation in Hinduism. That's what the CERN scientists are trying to achieve, meaning they wish to destroy and create the surface of Earth, turning into what the Bible calls the Garden of Eden, or the New Earth, in its virgin primal state. Like the matter can exist as liquid or solid, so the Hindus field, the substance that fulfills all space and time, could exist in two states. Glenn Guy Gilden's a ethereal physicist at the CERN lab, where Higgs bosons was discovered, explained during a TED talk in October 2013. Higgs had been discovered and proving generating new laws of physics scientists could once only dream about. Time travel is no longer a figment of imagination if one can move at the speed of thought. The Word of God warned the Israelites to stay away from the black arts and magic, not because it was false, but because demonic beings were deadly real, and it would cost them their eternal soul. Same with CERN. Scientists have found ways to alter the dimensional laws of physics and time by use of antimatter, says Higgs via his work. They have opened a doorway into the metaphysical abyss that now cannot be shut. CERN scientists are essentially trying to alter the forces of nature, the automatic level, in as far as the new sciences of metaphysics behind the number of large hadron colliders will take them. Parallel universes, unknown forms of matter, extra. These are not this stuff or deep science fiction, but very concentrated physics theories, and that scientists say to be confirmed with the LHC and other experiments. So this is Brian Jew. I won't read it all because I'll be all day. I'm going to play this in the background for now. AI, once it hits the singularity, will advance so far and so fast I don't think we'll be aware of its existence, and vice versa. Yep. We are travelling through time now in life and afterlife, and we'll just be able to travel non-linearly. Yep, exactly, Jeff. So I'm going to play this out. If I fall asleep doing it now at 4:30, you have to bear with me because I always get hacked as well. So I won't be rude if I do end up falling asleep. So I'm just going to put this on. Just going to time it. 4:30 in the morning. Just take this. Tuesday, 28/12/2021. Right. Just for my protection. I'm just going to play it in the background. If I get cut off, it's not me. It's the powers that be hacking me. Okay, Jeff, and then I'll have to catch you another time. But here we go.
the house apart and you expect to find nails. Woes more. Preach you a message about something that is happening right now while you're sitting in this auditorium. It's in CERN, Switzerland. Now, you may not be aware what's going on over there, but there's a thing over there that's called a Large Hadron Collider, and it is an accelerator. It accelerates particles and then brings them to the point of collision. So this Large Hadron Collider was started up just a few days ago, and is still in the initial process of being brought online completely. You say, what does that have to do with me and the Bible? It has a lot to do with you and the Bible. I cannot and will not attempt to speak called a theoretical physicist. This man, his name is even Hawking. He's well known throughout the world. Anyone that has anything to do with nuclear energy or has anything to do with physics knows this man. And he is one that some rate even on the level of Einstein and of that level. And so I want to read you what this man has to say about what's happening right now in CERN, Switzerland. Listen carefully. These are the words of Stephen Hawking. He recently warned the reactivation in March of CERN's Large Hadron Collider could pose grave dangers to our planet.